Hello and welcome to I've Seen Everything, where the name is ironic and the reactions are... Well, everyone, you have joined me for a special occasion. When I started this channel, I had a theory about some different types of reaction videos that could be done. Of course, everybody is familiar with first-time reactions. I've done a fair amount of them out here. I'm sure I'll do quite a few more. But on this channel, I also wanted to explore other types of movie reactions. Movies that I haven't seen in a very long time, but also my favorite movies. We all have favorite movies for a variety of reasons. Something about the story, something about who we are when they come into our lives, and they get their hooks into us for some reason. The Crow in 1994 was one of those movies for me. I was 13 years old when this movie came out. I should not have been seeing it, at least not by the guidance of who's allowed to see an R-rated movie, but I saw it in the theater, and who I was as a kid at that time, for a variety of reasons, I related to it very heavily and became a lifelong fan of just about everything to do with The Crow. When I say a fan, that doesn't mean I think everything that's been done within the Crow franchise has been great, but I can tell you that I saw the movie twice in the theater in 1994 before it left theaters. I immediately went out and got the graphic novel it was based on, and since then, anytime a new story comes out in any media, movies, comic books, novels, anything, I have to have it. I still keep up on that universe. But I feel like we're getting off topic. Today we're here to talk about and to watch the 1994 movie The Crow, starring, unfortunately, the late, great Brandon Lee. And I say unfortunately because, for those of you unaware, if any of you are, this is the movie that he lost his life making. But they decided to finish it anyway and put it out. They wanted his last work to be seen, and so many of us are glad that at least they did that to honor him. But also, it's a movie that some of us out here really love. And to be honest, I think that's been one of the most heartening things to me. Again, I've been a fan of The Crow for 30 years. I see people watch this movie now, and I'm glad to see that it still holds up for most people. Most people come away from it enjoying it, being impressed by the style of it. It's a unique movie, for sure. I think everybody who watches movie reactions thinks it's interesting to see somebody watch a movie for the first time. Is it interesting to experience somebody's favorite movie with them? We're going to find out. So, in honor of Halloween and Devil's Night, which is from the movie, which is the night before Halloween, this week we're watching The Crow. If you'd be so kind, I'd really appreciate it if you go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button down there, click the bell, so you can see when I'm putting out new videos. And here we are with one of my very favorite movies, 1994's The Crow. That sound in the background there as they come in. I could hear that sound anywhere and I'd know exactly what it was from. See, Devil's Night, October 30th. It's funny, all these years later, I've watched behind the scenes things and stuff. I know how they created a lot of this cityscape.
People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. And sometimes, a crow can bring that soul back to put the wrong things right.
It's one thing I have never found out, is that legend of the Crow, is that based on something in real life, or was that like an actual belief of some culture, or was it just completely invented for the movie? Or if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think that was in the original work at all. I think that was created for the movie. The use of color in these movies also is really great, as far as how they use it to signify different things.
Shelley Webster and Eric Draven.
Wedding was tomorrow night.
Who the f gets married on Halloween anyhow?
Nobody.
It's a horrific scene for anybody to find. Something cops see far too often, I'm sure. I mean, not specifically people getting married, but...
Sir, we gotta move her.
Do it.
Ernie Hudson is one of my favorite parts of this movie, by far. His Officer Albrecht is one of my absolute favorite parts of this movie. And as somebody who grew up watching Ghostbusters, at this point in my life, if I think of Ernie Hudson, this is the first thing I think of.
Tell him to take care of Sarah.
You, Sarah?
Yeah,
It's gonna get me again. Can feel it.
you lied to her about Eric.
Look, I had to.
And you're lying to me about Shelley. She's gonna die, isn't she?
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's a good scene. I mean, it's a short scene, but it feels very real. It feels like something that would happen in the real world, in a tragic situation like that. Maybe not a kid having that kind of wherewithal. Very well done by both of them.
A building gets torched. All that is left is ashes. I used to think that was true about everything.
This is one of the things I wondered about this movie, if I'm going to struggle to have things to say. I'm kind of pushing right now to try to say things so I can show different parts. But this, among any other movie, I have a tendency to just want to sit and quietly watch, which doesn't work very well for a reaction video. So much beautiful artistic license that they've taken with the original story, paying respect to the original story, but creating so many things that weren't in it. Sarah was not in the original comic. She was based on a character named Sherry, who had a much smaller part in the story. She only very briefly met Eric. But so out of that, they built this entire character of Sarah. And there are certain parts of who she is that were in that short interaction.
Mickey, come on, man. How about some onions? Oh, man, don't cheap on them. Lots of onions.
I don't know if we see Mickey again after this. I guess they go back to his hot dog stand later.
How do you steer that thing on a wet street?
Pure talent. Hi. No onions, though.
No onions?
They make you fart big time.
It's really nice to see after a year that they've stayed connected and he's looking out for her a little bit because she's kind of on her own.
You know, Lake Erie actually caught on fire once from all the crap floating around in it. Wish I could have seen that.
It seems like a weird thing to want to see, but, you know, they're supposed to be strange and subversive and into weird stuff, so... Like this entire sequence, and I love the music in these movies too, especially the first movie and second movie. The music is good too, but this whole sequence was their creation. It's very helpful if you find yourself without proper footwear and have a bird to guide you toward a pair of shoes you can wear.
Bad people out on the street tonight.
Yeah, it doesn't seem suspicious at all.
Damn it. You wait right here.
Be careful.
Mickey, call it in for me.
Yeah, I wonder who did that. Could it have been the creepy guys that just drove by, like, from that location? Brandon Lee gives such a presence to this role. And that's the thing. I didn't learn a lot of this until more recently, but about all the shots that were him and weren't him. It's hard to tell the difference now. But a lot of the places where you can't see his face, some of them are intentional because it was a stand-in getting the shots for them. So presumably at this point, Eric doesn't remember who he is, but it's being in this place and... Gabriel. Oh, maybe he does because he remembers the name. But yeah, this experience of all the memories of that horrible night flooding back.
Department of Housing.
As horrible as what's going on is, this is a great exposition device. These moments are important too, to show how horrible these people are and how horrible what they did was. That they destroyed the lives of two people for their own amusement. I mean, they were sent there to do this. That shot, that was always one of my favorites. The healing effect doesn't hold as well these days with modern special effects, but it was pretty good for back then. That just seems like a terrible idea for the digestive tract. Why did he die? Well, his digestive system was full of bullets that he swallowed. I guess this is supposed to show that on top of being horrible people, they're also idiots. They think it makes them tough, though. And apparently they're willing to kill each other at the drop of a hat. I wonder who came up with that mask as, well, it mirrors the makeup from the comic. I can't remember if there's any explanation in the comic for where the makeup comes from. Very intentional choice of showing all these wonderful memories in color, vibrant color, while the rest of the world is cold and rainy and kind of devoid of color. Very effective montage, motivation of what was stolen from them, that they were just about to get married. And hence the thesis of The Crow. What if people who were the victims of horrible injustice that ended their lives got to come back and seek a rare form of justice that they never do, that they never get to? Something in people's hearts, I think, that kind of can identify with that. the world they create with this movie and the aesthetic they create with their visual stylistic choices and the music of this movie are just something I've always absolutely loved.
What is this, 10 blood stain that's on here? I'll give you $50.
Cheap ass sacrifice, mother.
You got to figure there are things like that in the real world too, as far as pawn shops that profit off of knowing that people are bringing them stolen stuff and are kind of fine to just pretend they don't know. Yeah, I do think that being able to see through the eyes of the crow is something they came up with for this movie. Eric showing a bit of his madness. He's kind of not supposed to be all there, having been risen from the dead. I think you might be a bit overmatched here, Tintin, but there's not any way you could know that yet. Yeah, this is not working out as he had hoped. I think of the deaths, this is the one that most closely mirrors the comics.
Listen, sure you'll remember. Halloween, yeah. Some dude, some bitch, whatever, man. Her name was Shirley.
He wants him to remember her like she was significant. He doesn't remember her. Or if he does, he doesn't care.
Let me tell you about it. It's fun, it's easy. You gonna learn all about it.
And this is what I'm talking about as far as they make them easy for you to not have sympathy for them. Because they don't care. They'll kill anybody for the fun of it, let alone if it benefits them in any way. Yeah, I don't think it was going to work after he slapped the second knife away.
Victims, aren't we all?
That has been a tattoo many times that I've seen.
Arcade games fell down, went boom. Is the man in? It's taking a meeting.
That's one thing to call it. I don't know if I'd call this a meeting. And hey, Tony Todd, everyone. Candyman moonlighting as a henchman.
Thinking about the past.
Dad gave me this 5th birthday. He said, childhood's over the moment you know you're gonna die.
I do kind of like the fact that they never explain this relationship. She's supposed to be his sister. They certainly don't have a conventional relationship for a brother and sister. But then again, they are crime lords and killers. Yeah, that's not a healthy individual there. Like I said, I was 13 when I watched this for the first time. So much of my early musical tastes came out of the soundtrack for this movie and other Crow movies and movies like it. Kind of grew out of that.
So, I guess you're not gonna be home until a lot later, huh, Darla?
Some food, huh?
Somebody already bought me dinner. The police.
That wasn't a welcome thing to hear. That his girlfriend's daughter is hanging out with the police. But, you know, who cares what he likes? I wonder, she must not. I was going to say, I wonder if she knows that he was involved in Eric and Shelley's death. But I guess there's not a way she could know that.
Sleeping off somewhere else, Dusthead.
I don't think he's scared of you, Gideon. About to have a bad night. Suddenly, I heard a tapping, as of someone gently rapping.
Rapping at my chamber door. You heard me rapping, right?
Bunch of Crow, Raven, and Poe stuff.
Something in an engagement ring.
That was a bad idea. And that is why. No, I think he's going to do something else entirely. That. Boom. Ooh, that sucks.
A gold engagement ring, yes?
I'd tell him where the rings are. Of course, I wouldn't be buying stuff that belonged to murder victims.
Who's this sack of shit? 10-10. I think you can rule out accidental death.
You're a beat cop now. So be a beat cop.
They allude to it a couple of times, but they don't really tell you until later why he's a beat cop now. But it's because he wouldn't let their murder go. He's a good person who wanted to find some justice for them. Handy thing to have when you're looking through a box full of jewelry. Didn't even need to have his eyes open.
I love you.
Yeah, I think that would make just about anyone furious.
Where to find him, Tim's little party pal.
Oh, hang out the place. Fun boy lives upstairs.
Fun boy.
Can't even hear their names without flashing to what happened. It does not bode very well for Mr. Gideon here.
Each one of these is a life you helped destroy. Don't kill them. Death is coming for them. Tell them Eric Draven sends his regards.
He would have killed him if he hadn't wanted to send them this ominous warning. Even Gideon, not somebody you have a whole lot of sympathy for. He doesn't care. He doesn't care where the stuff comes from. He cares that he makes money.
You're nothing but street creature.
Is that gasoline I smell?
Still a great line. Also, dumb of Gideon in that moment to still be talking smack. He Said the wrong thing at the wrong moment. Now you don't have a store anymore, Gideon.
Don't move.
I thought the police always said freeze.
Well, I am the police. Say don't move, Snow White. You move, you're dead.
And I say I'm dead, and I move.
Another great line. I love their interaction in this movie. And once he realizes who he really is, how he comes to his aid to try to help him as much as he can.
Do you remember Shelley Webster?
Webster's dead, my friend.
Who could expect him at this moment to believe that this person is Eric come back from the dead?
They're all dead. Just don't know it yet.
It's another pretty badass line.
Get away from there!
He Batmaned you, disappeared into nothing.
Oh, great. You lose him right out in the open. At least didn't do that. Walking against the wind. Shit, I hate that.
Yeah, at that point, I would maybe not even tell the other cops that he was there. There's going to be more trouble than it's worth. I never really understood this. I guess I'm not supposed to.
Their energy is lining against you.
I guess that's just supposed to be, gross and scary.
Gideon pawn shop spread down. Nobody cleared this to me.
So he apparently is an actual crime lord. Crime is not supposed to happen of a certain size unless he authorizes it.
Somebody stuck his blades in all his major organs in alphabetical order.
Well, that's pretty impressive. I don't know how you know that, but pretty confident.
Ling heard the story on why Gideon's burned out. Natural catastrophe or act of God or something? All of my need to know.
I mean, I guess that's true. If you controlled a certain territory, you wouldn't want somebody else to be coming in doing big things like that without you knowing about it, at least from the perspective of a crime boss. Sarah, I mean, look both ways. Pretty simple. I think you don't get this moment otherwise.
He couldn't have stopped.
What a butt face. I could have made.
I don't know how she didn't recognize his voice right there.
I wish the rain would stop just once.
Can't rain all the time.
Eric?
That's another big quote. So many different fan art things with that in it. And tattoos, I'm sure.
Don't thank me. You're gonna wind up working a school crosswalk.
It's a distinct possibility at this point. Yeah? Little creative artwork on a photo there, and he's put it together, folks.
There's a big f***ing bird over there.
It's not what you expect to hear in a moment like this. Of course, you did leave your window open. I might want to focus up, fun boy.
Here, fun boy.
Because shit's about to get real.
You nearly gave me a fucking hard time.
Well, stoned out of your mind enough, probably not that hard.
Take your shot, fun boy.
That is quite a move in that situation. Certainly not something you would expect.
You looking in there? You need professional help.
Yeah, well, thanks for the concern, but I feel like you're gonna have bigger problems here. Yeah, that's the moment where you might realize you have a big problem.
Christ walks into a hotel.
Ow. He hands in Cooper 3 nails and he asks...
You put me up for the night?
I mean, that's a morbid joke, but creative, let's say.
Look what you've done to my sheets.
I think your priorities might be a little off there. I don't think that matters anymore. They inject these little flashes in to remind you why we're here. I mean, no one could blame her for being terrified of what she's just seen, and she's also stoned right now.
Look, mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Morphine is bad for you.
This is always a powerful moment. This part is in the comic, although I don't think the morphine part necessarily.
Your daughter is out there on the streets waiting for you.
I don't remember if we ever find out what happened to Sarah's mom after this, because Sarah's, well, I mean, anybody watching this is seeing it. Sarah's in the sequel. I don't think they mention anything about her mom.
If I wanted ice, I would have asked for ice. I'll fill it up.
Yeah, Gideon's looking a little toasty there. Seems like he was a little closer to those flames than he would have ideally liked.
You burn yourself playing with matches? You have an appointment.
Do I bow or do I curtsy?
You know, Gideon just can't quit running his mouth, no matter what circumstance he's in. Just in time to be too late, Mr. Tony Todd, aka Grange. That is a lot of drugs right into his chest. Yeah, when did he get Batman powers? That's what I want to know. I didn't think vanishing was part of the deal, but he's done it twice. This is one of my favorite scenes between the two of them. Just the comedy of Ernie Hudson being in his boxers through the whole thing.
Freeze! Don't ever do that, man.
That's just wasting a beer right there.
Good likeness.
I saw your body, man. You died. You got buried.
His disbelief and shock is more than understandable in this moment. It would be from anybody.
You still have your hat on.
He knows he doesn't mean him any harm, though. If he wanted to do something, he could have done it before now.
Are you some kind of ghost? Boo.
Confirmed. Ghost. You can't say boo like that unless you're a ghost.
You took a swan dive out of a window.
Yeah, pretty horrible thing to have to hear.
Shelley Webster held on for 30 hours in intensive care and body finally just gave it up.
I love how they tell story through flashes in this movie. One of the best uses of it, I think, is right here, what they're about to do.
I saw it, man. I couldn't do jack for.
And it's a different color, too, to signify a whole different kind of emotion with it. Yeah, it's just all of that information that quickly.
Don't touch me!
Way more than he would have ever gotten from him sitting there describing it to him.
You stayed with her the whole time.
Yeah, it's gonna get me again.
I was hoping she'd come out of it, something I could work with.
He's just a really good person. I mean, aside from Eric here, he's a good man doing the right thing for the right reason, even when it's hard, even when it costs him. It didn't lose his job, but he got demoted.
Kept asking questions and I got busted for sticking my nose where it wasn't wanted.
Because he was trying to do the right thing. I love his character in this movie.
Is your wife? Well, not anymore. We're getting a divorce.
I wish we could have seen something later on with him calling his wife.
Little things used to mean so much to Shelley. I used to think they were kind of trivial. Believe me, nothing is trivial.
That is very, very true with people that you care about in your life. There are no trivial moments. And this movie taught me that, or at least for the first time.
You shouldn't smoke these. They'll kill you.
Another very true thing, but very funny coming from him in this moment.
Vanish into thin air again?
I thought I'd use your front door.
I like how there's this mutual respect between them.
I'm sorry as hell for what happened to you and your girlfriend.
Yeah.
There's no one that can understand what Eric's been through, but this is one of the only true allies he has in this whole thing. Somebody who actually cared when they didn't have to. Amazing character.
Business gets blown up real good. Other than that, my day sucked.
You know, he doesn't do anything but complain and talk about himself.
You ain't lost everything.
I don't think he cares.
Maybe you're not such a big shotty. Oh, Jesus.
Gideon is just an idiot. Maybe be quiet and don't piss people off, especially people who could do terrible things to you.
A lot of detail. What do you say? He had a bird with him. He told me to tell T-Bird that death was on its way. Draven said his name was Ernie Draven.
Someone's got to put a sword to your throat to get you to cooperate. There's moments to show confidence and things like that, but he just makes dumb decisions about when he chooses to run his mouth.
Boy and his bird. Awful touching.
Boy and his bird, indeed. This is not going to be touching. Ooh. Did you see that coming, Gideon? They got a janitor that specifically comes and takes away bodies for him. That sounds like something from the John Wick world that they would call the people who come clean up after something like that, the janitors. I used to know how to play that. I don't know if I could still remember how to at this point. I guess it makes sense for them to need the, like, Officer Albrecht needed the photo and he drew the little thing on there. And she heard him say that line and it's from the song, so she wants to put it on to, like, that helps her believe it was him. They haven't seen him in a year, and to believe that he's suddenly back from the dead somehow. But it did trigger something for her to come home and want to listen to that record. Okay, that's a little too convenient. It skips right on that part.
No fun, boy.
Probably still bang you around, darling.
Oh, dude, that parking meter did nothing to you.
Smokes and road beers. Be quick.
Come on.
I did not know when I saw this movie, because I was so young, that road beers meant that he was going to steal them. My uncle had to explain that to me. But it makes sense. He goes in and just starts grabbing stuff. You see the crow, and then you see this.
I'm your passenger. Drive.
That is quite true, and I'd do what he says if I were you.
What do you want, man? Money? Drugs? I got it.
Yeah, he looks like someone you can buy off.
Tintin. This is business, right?
Bastard.
One thing I did learn, and it's interesting to bring up John Wick in this guy is actually in John Wick. If you watch that movie, he's the guy running the cleaning service who shows up. But the director of the John Wick movies used to be a stunt performer, and he was the one who stood in for Brandon Lee. He was a stuntman before, and then he did all the stand-in work after the accident happened on set. I just learned that not that long ago.
Goddamn foreign cars!
I don't think it's that it's a foreign car is the problem. This is another character that was completely invented for the movie. I don't even think he was based on other characters in the comic. Boom. But I'm calling BS on that he survived that accident. He got T-boned pretty hard there.
We need to put put some fear into that little lady. She wasn't going along with our tenant relocation program. Who gives a shit?
I don't get why they don't understand that trash talking is not a good... I mean, it's good for us in that it makes us sympathize with them even less, but that it's not a good course of action in these moments.
I know you. I knew you. I knew.
Imagine that moment of realization, and you're in this situation.
You can't be you. We put you through the window.
Oh, he can be him. You wish there wasn't. Unrepentant about the terrible things he's done in his life all the way to the end. He seems to have orchestrated that all pretty easily. I remember that shot being in the trailer. That's one of the most powerful images of this whole movie, Fire Crow. I don't think that was an effect. I think they set up that shot.
The night before Halloween has had a darker and deadlier nickname in the inner city, Devil's Night, the name given to what has become an annual plague of arson.
Devil's Night apparently is an actual thing that's happened for quite a while, at least in Detroit. I don't know if it still happens. I hope not. Kind of annual crime spree.
Do you like them up or over?
I don't even like eggs.
So what do you want now? Hot coffee and cigarettes?
There's a fan novel that was released about Sarah that I want to read. That's one of the few Crow stories I haven't read yet. Because I wonder if it goes into what happened to Officer Albrecht and Sarah's mom. Because I don't think we get any information on that anywhere else.
He's fused to his own car. We're gonna have to ID his teeth.
Yeah, one by one.
He zigged when he should have zagged. Case closed.
Sounds good enough to me.
You're holding out on me. I got a goddamn vigilante killer knocking off scumbags left and right, and you're covering up for somebody.
I mean, I can understand this guy's perspective too, but they make him such a colossal jerk that you don't really care.
You're having a chit-chat with some weirdo who winds up in Deeper's car when it zigs instead of zags.
I case files from...
It's completely just aloof, disinterested look.
Good speech, though. I didn't want to interrupt you. It sounded good. You gotta write that shit down.
He knows he doesn't have anything, and he couldn't prove what the truth is anyway.
Welcome to the first day of the rest of your suspension.
For what?
Misconduct.
See, he's just being a jerk. Why would we want to help him out? He's a petty asshole who just throws his weight around because he can. There's literally nothing that Albrecht could do there to get him to believe what he knows anyway. Oh yeah, this murder victim from a year ago that you all wanted to forget about because, you know, you couldn't figure out who was behind the murder. Well, he came back and he's avenging his death and his fiance's death. And he's killing these guys one by one. Now I've told you everything. I guess I've never really understood why he's burning the photos. Just him, a certain way of him dealing with the grief. One thing that they do a lot better in the comic, and even in the newer version where they included a couple of new things that James O'Barr had drawn and written, is some of the beautiful moments from Eric and Shelley's life when they were still alive, before the incident happened. There's some pieces in there that are really beautiful and amazing, and make the pain and grief even deeper for what Eric's going through.
Gabriel, I thought you were dead.
Gabriel has done a pretty good job fending for himself for a year. Certainly hope you're not going to leave him there again. I can't remember if she takes Gabriel with her. I think she does. I always like this scene.
I knew it was you, even with the makeup.
She didn't know it was him.
I remembered your song. You said, can't rain all the time.
She's just freaked out because she wants to see him, but she's also kind of scared.
I miss you and Shelley. Get so lonely all by myself.
Yeah, it had to have been really hard for her. They were kind of her lifeline. Kid with a mom that basically doesn't take care of her.
Hell with you. I thought you cared.
On the streets on her own. She had Officer Albrecht, though.
Sir, do care.
I'm glad he didn't let her walk out. That part always gets me a little bit, too.
That's him. That's him. But he look different. He's all clean.
Skank's trying to get him to believe that this guy's come back from the dead.
We ought to just videotape this, play it back in slow motion.
Yeah, he was the Weasleiest of the entire group. I don't think he stands much of a chance.
He's working his way back to this speed freak right here.
Now this goat gonna kill my ass next.
He kind of won't stop. He's all over the place. I mean, he is being hunted by a dead man. That would freak anyone out.
You like his cleaner with onions?
When someone's dead, can't come back, can they?
That's what I thought.
I'm glad they did this relationship, too, to show she had somebody, and they kind of were there for each other.
You'll just think I'm nuts.
Yeah, well, then maybe they'll have to lock us both up.
Just, even this moment, I'm glad they both know.
Maybe it was your fairy godfather.
You can't be my friend anymore because I'm alive.
You want a friend to walk you home?
I loved this guitar solo. I knew how to play this, too. I should try to start playing my guitar again. I was never all that good, but I knew how to play this. Well, maybe not this part. And I couldn't afford to be breaking my guitar like that. Time to get it started, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready for one of the final fights of this movie. Set deck for this scene was, hey, we need a lot of money, a lot of guns, throw in some drugs, you know, criminal stuff. You know what I mean?
Seems our friend T-Bird won't be joining us this evening on account of a slight case of death.
Yeah, Skank doesn't look real happy to be there, but not real happy to be anywhere.
Man has an idea. The idea attracts others like-minded.
So he started lighting fires in Detroit. People weren't doing it before that. Or maybe they weren't doing it on Devil's Night.
Greed is for amateurs. Disorder, chaos, anarchy. Now that's fun.
So it's the Joker versus the criminal argument. He doesn't want money, he wants to watch the world burn.
The idea has become the institution. Time to move along. You don't want us to do like my fight time for the whole city. No, I want you to set a fire so goddamn big the gods will notice us again. That's what I'm saying.
See, this is confusing. The idea has become the institution, time to move along. The idea was lighting fires and all this stuff. So you don't want us to do that anymore? No, I want you to do that even bigger than before. Doesn't sound like moving along.
Hell, that thing get in here. Gentlemen.
Yeah, there's not much more of a power play than this. Walking unafraid into a room full of men with guns.
I just want him. Oh, you can't have him. Well, I see you have made your decision. Now let's see you enforce it. Kill him!
That, how many squibs did they put on him for that? I want to know. Yeah, things are about to go sideways, folks.
He's gone.
Ooh. At this point, maybe get out of there would be what I would think would be the smarter thing to do, which is what Top Dollar does. For all his bravery, he goes running at the first sign of trouble. Like, we need a scene where he kills a bunch of bad guys. Okay, we'll have him have a meeting. And it will take a decidedly deadly turn. This is one of the things I never get, though. And maybe it's because, you know, they don't know what else to do. They're shooting him. They're seeing it's not stopping him. Yet they just keep shooting. As he's gleefully killing all of them.
You're all going to die.
That is one of the most ominous things you could hear in that moment. Boom. Oh, that is going to put a damper on the concert. Everyone get out. Boom. Peekaboo.
That's Skank right there.
Oh, my mistake.
Skank dead.
That's right.
Yeah, you said something true right there. I don't think you have a guy who comes back from the grave to hunt you down who's going to be that easily fooled.
That's all she wrote. Move and we shoot.
This goes hopping out of frame. Okay, now, I know that we're at a point where he's technically killed the 4 people that are responsible for he and Shelley's death. I think he still has his powers as of this moment, though. I think the thing with him not having his powers or losing some of his powers comes later in the church. That is... I was just trying to enjoy fire. That's a friend right there.
Next time, duck.
He doesn't really understand what's happening. He's going to great risk to help him, but he feels that it's the right thing to do.
I knew you were going to do that.
See, that's the part that makes me wonder about his powers, is there's blood all over the seat. But I think he still has his healing ability right now.
Whole city ought to be in flames by now. Sky ought to be red.
Why would somebody take pride in setting fire to a city every year? Maybe just the terror you can wreak on the population?
The crow is his link between the land of the living and the realm of the dead.
So kill the crow, destroy the man.
I wonder how she knows this stuff. That's the thing. They have her have all this kind of like mystical knowledge and stuff, but they don't really ever tell you where it comes from or how she knows any of it.
Coming home, Shelley.
Yeah, his mission's over as far as he sees it. And it's an interesting place to sleep, Sarah. I don't know if I'd be brave enough for that one.
Safest place in the world to be.
Of course, he approves of it.
You didn't say goodbye.
Just gonna have to forgive me for that.
Yeah, this is the first time they really had to talk.
I gave this to Shelley once. I think she'd like you to have it.
It's a beautiful moment. This was in the comic, a version of it.
This way you'll always remember her.
I'll never take it off.
Yeah. Wow, that one got me more than it usually does. But to be able to see somebody that was taken from you that way and tell them that you love them and just that you miss them, but then you have to let them go all over again. Wow, that one really got me that time. It's gotten me before, but hasn't been like that in quite a while. So, this is one of the things I guess I'm unsure about. They figure just if they kidnap her, they'll be able to lure him in. Do they know he's just outside? I don't know if they ever specify that.
What is that, some sort of souvenir there from your pal?
It's a bad move. You don't do that to Shelley's ring.
Her eyes are so innocent.
There's going to be consequences for that. And you stay away from her eyes. We saw what you did to the last lady. As I remember, there was an alternate ending or alternate part that was supposed to go here that would have led to a very different ending to this movie. So they developed this theory about harming the crow, and they don't actually kill it, they just wound it. But their theory actually proves out.
Quick impression for you. Caw, bang, fuck, I'm dead!
I don't like his character, but I like that moment. That was always funny. What else are you going to say when you've lost your healing ability?
For a ghost, you bleed just fine.
Way to hit a guy right after you shot him. I mean, this guy's depravity knows no bounds.
It's still alive. I'd kill it. Bye-bye, Ernie.
That didn't sound as cool as you thought it did, Tony Todd. And you didn't account for Officer Albrecht, okay? He doesn't give up easy, and he doesn't leave his friends hanging. Hey, Albrecht is holding his own against two different people. And he's just got one of them.
Just came by to pay my respects and here you are getting all shot up again.
Pretty badass if you ask me. Ernie Hudson should have had his own action movie franchise.
They've taken Sarah.
How many?
2 more. I can handle it, don't worry.
I don't know if I would say you could handle it at this point based on the fact you're bleeding all over the place.
I thought you were invincible.
I was. I'm not anymore.
I guess you really will need my help, won't you?
That's about the long and the short of it right there. Again, none of that was in the original story, and I love that relationship so much more. I'm so glad they did that with his character.
You're supposed to stay behind me.
I think I messed up.
It just takes one lucky shot, meaning he went up against 2 people by himself, and then she just takes a couple shots at him and takes him out. Grand finale, folks. Here we go.
This is all the power you ever had. Now it is mine.
I feel like you overestimate your position here. That bird wasn't quite done. Ooh. Oddly appropriate with her history with eyes.
Let her go!
Come on. Final fight.
No!
Now, what fun is that? He wants to fight you. I don't even think he knows you just killed his sister. Well, the crow did. That's a badass moment. Your chosen sword is a spire from the top of a church. It gets struck by lightning. Yeah, that felt pretty definitive. Has to be a crisis, or you think the bad guy's gonna win.
I cleared that building. Hell, nothing in this town happens without my say-so.
And what's about to happen to you is all the more poetic for that.
I have something to give you.
Come on, Eric.
30 hours of pain. All at once. All for you.
It's a perfect way for him to go. And Albrecht gave that to him. Gave him that weapon to use. They did a really good job making that look real. I didn't find out until years later what that was.
Are you alive?
Yeah, he's had a day. That's for sure. That'd have pissed me off if they would have killed him. That would have been so much worse.
What you kept in here saved me. Thanks.
Don't mention it. I'm meaning to come to church anyway.
Those were some of the best changes they made to the original story for the movie. That really paid respect to the original and improved and built on it in certain ways.
I'm quitting as of now.
And Brandon Lee was so good in this. He was also such a talent. It would have been so great to see what he would have been able to do.
Stay with him until help comes.
Last thing she ever heard him say.
At least it stopped raining, huh?
It rain all the time.
Is down here your fault, Albert?
He's in a stretcher. Can you not be a jerk for once? There she is. Come to take him back home. Finally gets to see her again in a way that's not tied to the horrible things that happened to them. The way he remembers her. Now they can finally be at peace.
Thanks.
It's a nice moment that she got the ring back. It's an important thing for her to be able to remember them.
Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever.
That was his fiance. I have a lot to say. But let's go to the wrap-up. Well, this was a different one, wasn't it, folks? If you're here, you've obviously seen this movie. I don't know what your history is with it, but if you watched through all of this with me, I thank you. I don't know how this will come out, honestly. Sitting here thinking about it and how I'm going to edit it. This is a different thing. If you had to pick probably the most personal movie to me in my life, this movie would be it. And I can't exactly tell you why, except just who I was in the moment it found me. I really connected with this movie. And then I went and read the comic, and I really connected with everything to do with The Crow. I remember so many different things. I remember buying this movie the day it came out on VHS. I remember going to see the sequel opening day, August 1996. I had to rush from school after school was out to get on a city bus to get to the theater to see it. I have so many memories tied to this movie and this franchise overall. Not all of them great, unfortunately. I liked the second movie. I didn't at first. It took a while to get to that. I don't like the third and fourth movies so much because they are based on novels that are better than the movies were. And the new one I did like, but it's kind of difficult to explain. But it's one of the things that I've found the most heartening over the years is that people still do like this movie. They watch it for the first time and there's still things that appeal to people about it. I loved the music from this movie and the second movie too. Both scores composed by the same person. I've watched this movie countless times. It's something that connects with me on a level that a lot of other movies don't, for whatever reason. I'd be interested to hear if you have a movie like that. And I wouldn't try to sell this movie to somebody as the greatest movie ever. I think it's a really good movie. I love it. Is there a movie like that for you that you love it? It's something that will always be a special movie to you. There are a lot of changes in this movie from the original comic. I talked about some of them in the reaction. Officer Albrecht in the comic book is a lot different. And then there's another character named Detective Hook, and they kind of put those two characters, I feel like, together to make the Officer Albrecht that we got in this movie. But even so, Ernie Hudson's performance and some of the additional things that they wrote to make him such an endearing character. This kind of loyal, somewhat paternal character, but just a good person trying to do the right things for the right reasons, even when it's hard. Even when everybody else had forgotten about Eric and Shelley, it was important to him to try to get some justice for these people. He looked after Sarah because she's basically on her own. Her mom wasn't taking care of her. Sarah is another one. Again, we get, a few panels with a character named Sherry in the comic. Did not know Eric previously. He and she sit there and talk for a while, and he ends up giving her Shelley's ring. I think that they did a wonderful job in this movie of not making a direct adaptation of the original comic, but of taking that story and clearly telling their own version of that story and adding to it and shaping it in a different way. And creating something that conveyed their own unique vision of the kind of story they wanted to tell, but also paid service to the story that James O'Barr told. Which, again, this is a story that's unfortunately intertwined with a lot of tragedy. A lot of people know that Brandon Lee unfortunately died because of a mishandled prop gun on the set of this movie. The other thing that happened is the writing of this comic book to begin with came from tragedy as well. James O'Barr's fiance was killed in a car accident, I believe from a drunk driver, if I'm remembering correctly, which is what spurred him on to write this comic book to begin with. That was the basis for this movie. He was dealing with his grief over that. It is terrible and complicated to have so much tragedy wrapped up in something like this, especially since it's something I love so much. But because of his passing, this ended up becoming an anthology franchise, and not just in the respect of the movies, each of the movies being a different story. They've written novels, they've written comic books, they have a book of short stories and poetry. James O'Barr's been involved in some of it, but telling different stories each time. It's really kind of the perfect franchise to be able to tell all kinds of stories, all kinds of different circumstances where you have people who have been the victim of tragic circumstances being given the opportunity to find a little justice. There's something cathartic about that. It's ironic that the director of John Wick was the stunt double and then later on stand-in who helped them finish this movie, because in a way, John Wick is kind of that type of story too. I mean, there's a revenge element to it. but I could go on and talk about all kinds of Crow-related stuff forever. Over the years and all the ways that I've changed and all of the different movies that I've seen and loved, this is one that always remains close to my heart. And since I could go on about this stuff forever, and I don't think that that would make for a particularly good video, I will end this in the most appropriate way I can think of. On the original VHS for this movie, they included an interview with Brandon Lee from the set of The Crow about this role and about what he thought of playing this part. And he very much believed in this role. He felt a very close connection to this role. He thought it was a beautiful story they were putting together. And he finished the interview by giving this quote from a book called The Sheltering Sky. I'm going to do my best to do this from memory. I might screw it up. I haven't looked this up in quite a while. Because we do not know when we will die, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well, and everything only happens a certain number of times, really. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood? An afternoon that is so deeply a part of your being that you cannot conceive of your life without it. Perhaps 4 or 5 times more. Perhaps not even that. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20. And yet it all seems limitless. Thank you for being here and watching this with me. I appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.